Okay, today I'm going to be talking to you about how to speed your Joomla site. This is something that we here at SiteGround are very interested in. We host a lot of Joomla sites, maybe 100,000 Joomla sites, and performance of Joomla is something of big interest to me. I want to share with you some very little info about me and who I am and what I do. Basically, I'm the CEO of SiteGround. I've been doing this for the past 8 years. I'm kind of very technical. I have 17 plus years of IT experience, and I've been using Joomla since maybe the first day Joomla got out. Joomla was pretty popular, and it is still pretty popular for our clients, and we love Joomla here at SiteGround. It is something like a tradition here in our office. I love traveling the world, and I love photography and everything fast. So performance is kind of something that really fascinates me. So here is a brief introduction into why should you be thinking about the performance of your website. Performance is something very, very important, and not many people nowadays realize that, but performance is something that not only makes Google happy, because Google is ranking websites nowadays based on how fast they open and how user-friendly they are for the visitor. But performance also keeps your visitors happy. I don't know if you've experienced that, but if you open a website and that website needs like 30 seconds to load, then you're probably gone before the website loads. And there is a statistic that says that if a visitor waits for more than 13 or 15 seconds, I think, he's probably gone. Like 80% of the visitors are gone. So it's good to keep in mind that your website should load fast, and not only the initial page, but the interaction with the website itself should be fast as well. At the same time, if a website performs well, then it's more likely that this website would be able to handle more visitors simultaneously. The truth is that if a website performs bad, then it will perform even worse under stress load. And in the scenario that you have a lot of visitors simultaneously, you will need to pay a lot of money for hosting. So hosting is something that has to be taken into account when doing performance. And should you do a more performance-oriented website, then you might save a lot of dollars from hiring expensive servers. So it probably sounds like making your Joomla website fly or perform good is a very complicated thing, but it's not. Optimizations are really something that is ongoing as a process, but not really difficult to achieve, and I will show you how in the next 30-35 minutes. Let's go. I've prepared a video for you. This video will show you on your right side an optimized Joomla website, and on your left side an unoptimized default Joomla website, and I will compare the load time of both of them to just illustrate what I mean by performance. Okay, I'm playing the video now. Okay, done. So as you can see, both websites are completely identical. This is Joomla 2.5, I think, and it is running a very, not very light theme, and it is also running the Joomla social component. So as you can see, the right one, it loaded in a second, and the left one loaded in 4 seconds. The difference between those two are how they are optimized, and I will show you now how to achieve the better performance load. So maybe you didn't notice that, but at some point, the left website, the non-optimized website, it was loaded, but the counter was still going. This is because some of the page load was not yet completed, and we measured the complete page load. Okay, going further. So here are some general guidelines what you should do to in order for performance to be good at all times. This is general, and this is true with a lot of other cases as well, but you should really keep your Joomla updated. Whenever a new version comes out, I'm not saying that you should update the same hour, but maybe try, see if all extensions work, and then update. The people from Joomla are really interested into making Joomla perform better, and with new releases it outperforms previous releases. So you should really try to keep Joomla updated at all times. It also helps security too, so it's a good thing to keep Joomla updated. Another thing which people don't seem to see as something really important, but it is to choose extensions wisely. There are thousands of extensions available in the Joomla extensions directory, and the truth is not all of them perform that good. So maybe you don't need to have 15 extensions enabled on your website, maybe you just need 5. Make sure that you deactivate or even delete the extensions that you don't use, because they might present some troubles to you. And another thing that you can do is whenever you are in search of a new extension, then just maybe enable that extension and measure the load time of your website. If it goes down when the extension is enabled, then maybe, just maybe, this extension is not the right for you. Maybe it is not the well-optimized extension. Another thing you should think about is about your template. 5 years ago, it was really nice to have a very, very flashy website, a website with a lot of things in it, like feeds from other websites, or sliders, or big images changing and everything. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad thing, but nowadays the designs that are more modern and more flat, they have less flashy things in them, and at the same time they're smaller in size. And whenever a design is small in size, it is really easy for it to open fast. Even on a mobile device or iPads, when you're on mobile connection, a flat design with less images and less flashy things on it would open faster than something that has a lot of images and a lot of rich content on it. So simplifying your Joomla template might give you a lot of performance intake that you might really like. As I said, simple front page is better. Get rid of the fancy stuff if you can, remove large images, use fewer external, internal links. So this is something that a lot of people don't know. If you use a sitemap, then not only Google would be able to easily index your whole website, because sometimes Google might find it hard to get to some links on your website that are kind of hidden, that you show only on one page. But at the same time, crawlers would not need to crawl as much as your website, and hence it will perform better. Further to that, I would suggest that you avoid loading content from remote servers. What I mean by that is, for example, if you use an extension that gets your Twitter feed and you place that on your index page, that is really cool. Like every time a visitor goes to your website, he'll see how active are you on Twitter, and what your feed shows, and everything interesting about it. But the thing is that every time a visitor opens your website, it will not open your website only, but will do a connection to an outside server. And this usually slows down the whole page load experience. So I would suggest that you avoid loading content from remote servers unless really necessary. So I would suggest against loading Twitter or placing weather banner on your index page and every other single page on your website. It's okay to place those in like one single section of your website, but avoid loading remote content from everywhere on your website, because it's just going to become slower. there are some Joomla level optimizations that we can do from the Joomla backend, and I will try to talk about those for a bit. So the first and most important thing, if you ask me, is to enable compression. How many of you know what compression is? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few. I'll just explain it for the rest of you. So compression is, imagine you have a folder full of document files, like 10 megabytes of Word files, and you zip those files. Immediately those files will become from say 10 megabytes, they will become 1 megabyte or even 800 kilobytes. This is because the zip is kind of moving the bits, so they're tighter in size. Compression basically does the same thing. Whenever you have a website, it is a plain HTML file that the browser receives, and the HTML file also has like some CSS files and JavaScript files. Whenever compression is enabled, those files, they are all compressed and sent to the browser compressed. And because they're compressed, they're less in size, hence less bandwidth is needed, hence it becomes faster. This process can become significantly faster, like maybe 4 or 5 times faster. The browser can get the files needed. And because nowadays computers and even iPads are so powerful, decompressing the HTML file is much faster than actually compressing it, not compressing it and sending it in its full size. In order for you to enable compression in Joomla, you need to go to your Joomla administrator, and from there on to Site, Global Configuration, Server, the server tab as you can see it, and then you will see a line, do zip page compression, yes. Make sure that you're running your Joomla on modgzip or moddeflate enabled server. This means, sorry, what is it?
Your slides are not changing, I believe.
What slide are you seeing now?
Are we seeing enable Joomla cache? Yeah, go back on. Enable compression.
Yeah, I haven't changed the slide, that's why.
Cool, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Yeah. So, in order to use Joomla compression, you need to be running your Joomla on a server that has modgzip enabled, because otherwise this would simply not work. I know that many hosting companies use modgzip on their servers. It's pretty standard thing. For example, we use it on all our servers, so this should work out of the box on our servers. Another thing you should do is you should enable the system cache plugin. This is a plugin that ships with every Joomla. So you just go to plugins, type in cache, find system cache, enable it, and then here are the options that you might want to set to your system cache plugin. So again, the options you can access from Site, Global Configuration, System Cache Settings. And here, of course, I don't know if you guys will be uploading the slides lately, but in case you are, then those settings, you might just want to use the same settings. We've tried on a lot of clients, and these are kind of the settings that work best. So there are 2 types of caching. Here you can see it says on conservative caching. There is also progressive caching. I would really advise for you to use conservative caching because it's kind of known to break less stuff. Progressive caching is a bit more complicated, and I won't go into much detail about that, but what it does, it saves different cache for different users. So for example, if you have like different content shown to different logged-in users, then progressive caching might be something you might consider. Otherwise, conservative caching is just as good. Choose cache handler file and choose 15 minutes as cache time, and that should work perfectly. Further to that, there is some htaccess things that you can just add to your htaccess file, and what those would do, here is the code. What those would do is it would tell the browser that the browser should download the images from the website and keep them from a certain amount of time in order for, if the client comes to the website again in, like, say 1 hour or 2 hours, he won't need to download the images again because you have told the browser that you have those images already, don't change them for a week. So here is the code you can use, and here is an explanation of what the code does. So the tag tells the browser that an image unit does not need to be reloaded in case that the browser reloads the page. And the expires headers set different expiration dates for various file types. It is not just images, but other file types as well. And as you can see, it is HTML, CSS application, JavaScript. And the add output by type deflate says to the browser to minify and compile the HTML source code. So basically, we've tested that on a lot of Joomlas, so you should be good by just copying this and placing it into your htaccess file. Here is something really, really important that I still see a lot of people to underestimate how important this is. So you should never upload a 20 megapixel image directly to your website unless you are a photographer and want to share your images with your clients and they want to print it. Then there is no reason for you to upload 2560 by 1600 images to your website. Always try to smush your images, and by smush I mean to make them smaller in size, and this would save precious time when your website is opened. Another good thing to do would be to minify and combine CSS and JavaScript files. How many of you know what to minify CSS and JavaScript means? Quite a few. Okay, we'll explain that again. So minification means that you're kind of making CSS and JavaScript sites smaller in size. You do that by deleting empty lines and deleting lines that are not needed, like comment lines, etc. So there is no need for you to do that by hand. There is a plugin that does that. I will show you in a minute. Another thing that you might want to find interesting, and that's going to increase performance of your website, is to use image sprites. How many of you use image sprites right now? Very few. Okay, image sprites, what they are in their nature is combining maybe 6, 7, 8 images on the same page into one and only one image. It does not reduce the images in size, but what it does is it prevents the web browser of the client to open 8 images simultaneously, which means it uses the whenever the web browser connects to the Joomla website, then it uses 8 times less connections towards the server, and hence it causes less load on the server, and then everything becomes faster. There is no need to do that like by hand, by Photoshop, to combine images. There are plugins for that too. I will show you that in a minute. So as I said, it is a good thing to smush your images. By smush I mean make them smaller in size and without losing quality. There is a tool called smush.it, which can take your image and output an image that you can directly save, which would be the same image but smaller in size. It is interesting how much space you can, how much bandwidth you can save by just making your images smaller. Of course, you can use tools like Photoshop or Fireworks to do that, and there are some Joomla extensions that do that as well. But Smush It is the tool that I use, and that's why I'm recommending it, because it's been working perfectly for me. Here are some extensions that do the minification and the compress of JavaScript and CSS files and the image sprites. So the one that I recommend is the one that does it all. It is called JCH Optimize, and our clients, a lot of our clients use it. It is a very, very good extension. It is proven to be working, so you might want to give it a try. Other extensions that we see our clients use and been told that they're good extensions are JBTolo, Jot Cache, and Cache Cleaner. Whereas the Cache Cleaner only cleans the cache from your Joomla, and the other two will do the combined JavaScript and CSS files and images and sprites. Simply enabling those extensions should allow your website to perform better in a few clicks. I have done a screen showing how to enable the JCH Optimize plugin. So you go to Joomla plugins, search for JCH whenever it's installed. So you should install it first, enable it, and then here is the screen of JCH Optimize. I know you see a lot of options, but you kind of don't need to run through them all. So basically, you should go to basic options and enable everything, like combined CSS files, combined JavaScript files, gzip, minify JavaScript and minify HTML. And then on the sprite generator for the images, you should enable the sprite generator, yes. Set output image file to PNG. Amount of images in sprite to a minimum, use a vertical, and don't drop images. Then save, and you should be good to go. Of course, at some point, some stuff might break on your website when enabling a plugin like that. If something breaks, I would advise to try disabling any of those options by starting from the bottom. So disabling minify HTML, try it, then disabling JavaScript, try it. And at the moment you find out what it is, just keep that disabled and keep everything else enabled. That should work. Okay, going forward. Mod page speed. How many of you know what mod page speed is? Good. Good to have so many people know about it. Mod page speed is an Apache module from Google. And what it does is it's compress JavaScript and CSS files again. So if you have mod page speed enabled on your hosting server, then you might just enable that and don't bother to download the JCH plugin because it won't be needed. Kind of Google does the same thing. So if your hosting server supports it, just enable it and that you should be good to go. Mod page speed works as standard on all our servers, all SiteGround servers, and I'm sure that there are many hosting companies that support it. So a lot of people have asked me before when I did that same presentation in different cities across the world, how do you measure the performance of your website? So I have a question for you. How do you measure the performance of your website? Do you use, how many of you use Google PageSpeed Insights? A few. And do you use tools like YSlow, GTmetrix, or other tools like that? Okay. So I've outlined the 3 tools that I use to measure the performance of a website. The Google PageSpeed Insights can be used from within the Google Chrome web browser, for those of you who use Chrome. And those 3 tools, they will all tell you how good your website performs, and they will all give you like a scale. For example, PageSpeed will give you something like 75 from 100. And they will all also give you like tips for optimization of your website, what you should do in order to speed it up and make it work faster. I'm guessing that you would all have the slides, so leaving those here so you can get the URLs from the slides later. I have done here a comparison of 4 Joomla websites. The first one is a default Joomla website with no optimizations. The second one has cache compression enabled. The third one has cache compression and htaccess rules. And the fourth one has everything with JCH. So as you can see, the default Joomla website would open for 1.61 seconds, whereas with everything optimized, it would load in just a second. So this is kind of 60% increase in performance with just a few simple things, just naming link a plugin and adding an htaccess rule. Another very important thing is, remember when I told you that the kilobytes that would be transferred would go down? Here is a proof for that. So the default Joomla website would open 563 kilobytes, which means half a megabyte. Whereas everything optimized would load just 150 kilobytes, which is significantly less. And here is the number of requests done to the server, 35 against 19. So everything is running smoother with less server resources required. And here is the page speed rate. When I told
slides, please. Your slides are not changing. Thank you.
what do you see?
We're looking at the servers at the moment. Yep. Now you've got the results.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The result. So you were not seeing the results up until now, or?
Now we're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, and the page speed grade changes too. So the default Joomla website gets only 41% page speed grade, whereas the optimized Joomla site has 91. So the closer you are to 100, the better. The bigger rank you have, the bigger chance page speed would Google would show your website higher ranked than other websites. So there are some server level optimizations you could do. However, those are kind of more for system administrators, so I will just go over them in a second. How many of you use CDN? Nobody? Oh, one person in the back. Okay, CDN, how many of you know what CDN means? Quite a few. Okay, maybe more of you should think about using the CDN. What CDN does is it gets the static content of your website and disperse it throughout the world. So that, say, you're based in Hong Kong and you have a visitor from London, then it's better for that visitor in London also targeted at securing your website. In case you're using those services, you would see that some bots that are trying to spam your website are stopped by them. So you might want to try any of those services and see if they will reflect in faster website loading. Especially when you're hosting your website in Australia, keep in mind that it is kind of really slow for example, us Europeans to open an Australian website. So CDN might be a good thing to use. Here are some tweaks that you can do to increase the performance of your web server and enhance the performance of your Joomla site. Using fast PHP like fast CGI is a good thing. Moving the PHP binaries to RAM increases performance a lot. Moving the TMP folder to RAM increases performance a lot. Using SSD drives for MySQL, enabling MySQL query cache, and using TMP FS for MySQL TMP gear also increases performance a lot. By default, we use all of those security and performance tweaks on our servers, and you should be just good to go. There is a very good thing called object-oriented caching. How many of you have heard of object-oriented caching or APC caching? Nobody? Oh, one person. Okay, good. APC, a few. I'm not seeing that well. I'm really sorry if I missed somebody. APC caching, by its nature, what it does, it gets cache from PHP files and cache them into files that are directly read from the RAM of the server, and therefore everything is executed much faster. So here is in general how Joomla interacts with your database. This is your computer, and this is your Joomla site, and this is your database. So whenever a computer connects to the Joomla, Joomla then connects to the database returns requests to the Joomla, and then Joomla returns the request to the browser. But what if you have a memcached enabled? Memcached is a server-side software that caches database queries. So if you have memcached enabled, the thing that happens is whenever a result is returned, it is returned to the memcached, and the memcached stores that result. So whenever a visitor types in the same query, so for example, I search for a dog in your website, and whenever another person does the same search, then no longer is a query made towards the MySQL server, but that query goes directly to memcached. Memcached has the result stored in its cache, and it returns it directly to the user. So if memcached and APC are enabled on your hosting server, then you might want to use those so that your website performs even better. In theory, here is how I will show you in brief how PHP works. So PHP kind of does go through a lot of steps before outputting your website. So scanning, lexing, parsing, compilation of code, and execution are the steps that PHP internally goes when it is executing your website. When you have caching enabled, opcode caching or APC caching enabled, a lot of those processes are skipped. As you can see, this is much flatter. So here you have 5 steps before execution, and with APC enabled, you have just 1 step before execution. So my point here is that you would need much less time to execute a PHP page if you're using APC caching than if you're not using APC caching. So you might want to check that with your hosting server or with your hosting company. And the final thing I want to share with you is how a reverse proxy can change things for your Joomla website. This is the thing that I'm going to share is it is very, very true for very large Joomla websites, for the ones that have thousands of visitors daily or have a lot of content that they want to share with their users. So basically what happens when you visit a website on a server is you open the website, your request goes to the server calculates and returns the results to you. However, if many people do that at the same time, so if you have a very, very popular website, then the server might get a little bit overwhelmed. And if that doesn't happen, then your website will get slower, and it will get slower with every other visitor that comes to your website. So there is a solution to that. It is called a reverse proxy server, and on our servers we've called it the SUPERCACHER. As you can see, it's a guy with a big thumb that helps your website run faster. So what the SUPERCACHER does, and the reverse proxy server does, it stores a copy of your website into the server's memory, and whenever too many visitors go to ask the server for your website, the reverse proxy server is not compiling your website from the beginning, but it keeps a stored copy and just returns that stored copy to the user. So it can do that multiple times without crashing or without even noticing that there has been a performance hit. So it tremendously improves the performance of a website, especially in the event multiple concurrent users going to the same site. Our own solution to the reverse proxies, as I said, is called the SUPERCACHER. And the SUPERCACHER includes custom PHP MySQL configuration. It includes memcached and PHP APC, and it includes a Joomla-friendly reverse proxy. Here is the same comparison with no optimizations on the Joomla, but just the server-side optimizations. So you can see again that for this particular case, we've used a Joomla plus VirtueMart. So it is a bigger homepage. As you can see, it is 1.89 megabytes of homepage. And by default, it loads in 5.22 seconds. With all the server optimizations I just said, it will load in 1.09 seconds. And it is just 0.67 megabytes in size. As you can see, also the Google page speed grade goes from 41 to 92. And some key takes from my presentation. Speed optimization is a process you should do regularly. You should do on regular basis. It is not something that you do today and you forget to do for a year. It is something that you should do. And it is something that you should really test. So it is not really easy to say that this small optimization, did it help to make your website perform faster, or did it help? Did it not help? So you should really try to test as much as possible and see if those optimizations you're doing there are making your website perform better. And last but not least, choose a well-optimized host, because then that can help you a lot. All right, do you have any questions? I would love to answer those.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Tenko, it's Richard Pearce. Just wanted to know some of those features that you've talked about. Are they available on your dedicated servers or only on your shared platform, including the SUPERCACHER?
Basically, everything I talked about is enabled on all our platforms. Everything is enabled on shared, VPS, cloud, and dedicated. Except for the APC caching. APC caching is only enabled on the cloud and dedicated, because it requires certain reconfiguration. But everything else is enabled on shared, whereas the SUPERCACHER is enabled only on shared. It's enabled only on the higher end shared plan. So the cheaper plan won't have the SUPERCACHER, but all the rest of the plans would have it.
Mate, I saw possibly a large part of your increase in performance was from it caching for the second time the visitor goes to your site. Is that true?
Can you repeat that? Because I didn't get it much.
The caching that improved the speed for the second time the visitor goes to the site, was that a large part of your performance increase? Would you have got as good a performance increase if it was the first time they went to your site?
Basically, whenever I measure for how much time a website opens, I every time delete my cache and try to measure without any cache on my web browser. Because if you go to a website the second time, then you have a lot of the images cached, downloaded, and it is kind of the results are not good, if you know what I mean.
More questions, guys?
Yep. At the front. You can ask it. When is there going to be a data center in Australia?
When are you going to have a data center in Australia, Tenko?
I hope really soon. We're talking to a few providers out there, and we're kind of trying to find the best way to go to Australia. But I cannot commit with the date. Right now we have servers in Singapore, which is the closest we have to you guys. I don't know if it's slow in Singapore or not, but this is kind of the closest we have. But I promise that we'll go in Australia real soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got another one.
Thanks for your talk. That's been fantastic information. Can you talk a little bit more about how you secure PHP and how you separate your sites from each other? You mentioned on your website that you have some systems for doing that.
Sure. So basically what we do, and this is our approach, I don't know if anybody else does the same thing, but basically what we do is we have our own software called 1Hive, and that software, what it does is it kind of secures Apache and PHP in a way that attackers, if there are attackers, are not able to compromise a website through the PHP or through Apache itself. So what we do is we have we run a highly modified version of PHP that we place into the server's RAM, and we also do add like a lot of PHP versions to the same server. So basically, whenever a customer is using our a very secure and strong PHP, it has less chance of getting hacked because of that. We also use another brute force and denial of service protection system that is in-house written, and it does prevent users from kind of getting attacked at all times and preventing their websites from going down because of that.
Thank you, Tenko. Any more questions, guys?
You're welcome.
We've got another one.
Thank you, Tenko. When will SiteGround have its reseller packages active?
Can you repeat that, sorry?
When will SiteGround have the reseller packages available?
They already have.
Oh,
We do have a reseller package available right now.
Okay.
I don't know if you mean when are we going to change it or.
I visited about a month ago when I was looking at changing hosts, and said your technicians will be doing up the web page soon. So I was unsure whether or not it had been finished yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is. You're welcome.
Questions? Any more? I saw some more hands.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tenko, Tadi here. How does your backup system work and with restoration in regards to customers' Joomla websites?
So we have two backup systems, or three backup systems in place. First of all, we use RAID 10 on all our servers, and RAID 10 means that all hard drives are kind of backed up to each other. So we have multiple hard drives on server, and in case one or two fail, that's not going to be a problem. We just take them out, put new ones in, and the server continues to work as it should without anything changes. Then we have the nightly backups, which we use in case a disaster happens and in case of, for example, a website gets compromised. So those backups, they can be requested by customer and restored upon whenever needed. So that's another thing. And the third backups we do, we have an auto-upgrade Joomla system. So whenever a new version of Joomla goes out, we have a system that will notify you and tell you, hey, would you like me to upgrade your Joomla? And in case you click yes, then a new backup will be created for your website. And in case something breaks on your Joomla, you will be easily able to restore that to your account.
Thank you.
Tenko, I don't know if you can see this. This is what the guys were talking about.
I can barely see it. So it says, which page, SiteGround reseller hosting program. Is that the page?
Yeah.
Let me just open that. Give me a sec. Is this the one? Oh, you mean when can you sign up for a reseller?
Yes.
Yes.
We're kind of, this should be active. I don't know why it isn't active.
There's a button in live chat, ask them.
Yeah, ask the live
Check the live chat, yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'll check about that and provide feedback later. I'm really sorry. We're basically, you can do that through our live chat and through our 24/7 team, and there should be no problem to become a reseller at any time. This is wrong. I'm sorry, guys.
Glad to have helped. Any more questions, guys? I think we're a wrap, Tenko.
Okay, good. I hope it was interesting for you guys, and I hope you learned at least one new thing. That should be good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll send this over when we can. It's the president.
Oh, thank you.
Presence. Yeah, we'll send it over. We'll find your address.
Okay, thank you. I want to share the slide with you so that everybody can get the information they need from the slides. I will do that via Skype just now, and then maybe you can find a way to distribute those.
Will do, thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Now, SiteGround also
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Tenko. Now, SiteGround also have a special offer as well. It's on your lanyards. So if you go to that promo page, you'll be able to get the special discount that they're giving out. I think it was.
Yeah, you can probably see that here. I don't know if it's on the screen or not, but we have a special 3-month offer for Australia, which is at siteground.com/Australia, and it offers 3 months of free hosting to try out our packages.
Yeah. So, no brainer. Here we go. Thanks, Tenko.